All right, William Knight is back on the show, this time with his first UFC victory under his belt, picking up a unanimous decision win over Aleksa Camur this past weekend at UFC 253. Also, some battle scars. Look at that eye, William. How are you, man?
I'm good. It's pretty cool. I like this. I like how it looks.
Yes. So I have to tell you, because, you know, we discussed this fight a little bit on our preview show, and I said, essentially, I don't know who's going to win, but rest assured, William is going to be in trouble at some point in this fight, because that's how it goes with all of your fights. But compared to like some of your past appearances, yeah, there was a tricky spot when he had your back, but this wasn't as bad for you as some of those past ones, was it?
Nah, I gave my backup for that split moment so I can get the fight onto where I wanted it to. So when I gave my backup, I already knew that the lock, there was nothing to hold. Usually a person would figure for my body, but I have such a wide frame, it's hard to figure for. So when I gave my neck, I'm like, I'm not in no danger. I already have one of the arms. Like, I got this. I got this. I've been here before, worse, with Jamil and these bigger guys. I'm like, I got this, trust me. Like, I wouldn't put myself in a situation I haven't been getting out of or would have trouble getting out of.
I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, I don't think easy is the right word, because easy's not, I mean, it's just the wrong word, because Aleksa's a tough customer. But because you weren't in much danger for this fight, was it in a way like almost a breath of fresh air more than anything? Is it safe to say that this fight went smoother than the others have been in the past?
All my fights go smooth, man. Like, I'm a child of abuse. So when you think about hitting, when I'm getting hit, like, it doesn't bother me that I get hit. I grew up being abused by, like, as a child, and I'm not saying by my grandmother, because it was never her, or when I lived with her. She saved me. But I was in foster care, and I had a stepdad and shit like that. I was bullied in school. I was hit. I was punched, kicked, burned with cigarettes from my foster parents, shit like that. Like, you got to think about what pain is. I have a very high tolerance for pain, and I have a very high tolerance to withstand punishment. So it's like, why do people say I'm in danger, but when Justin Gaethje's fighting and getting slammed on, he keeps coming forward and fucking shit up, and he's looked at as a savage, like he's a beast. He got a chin on him. I do too. I got a chin on me. I can withstand punishment. I could put myself in dangerous positions and get out. Like, I wouldn't put myself in a situation where I knew that I couldn't get out of. Like, wrestling teaches you ring awareness, mat awareness, body awareness. Like, wrestling is iconic for any person to step in that cage. Like, my style is wrestling and Muay Thai. Jiu-jitsu comes second, and then like boxing and brawling comes second nature. But Muay Thai is first and wrestling is first. So, like, I love it. I love it, man. All the fights I've ever been in, I win. I get my hand raised. Like, I get my hand raised. One amateur fight went to decision that I feel like I won. And then my first professional loss was an early stoppage. Like, those were not deemed as anything like severe. Like, yo, you've been knocked the fuck out, or you've been choked the fuck out. One was by judges that they feel I lost, and the other one was an early stoppage by a ref who thought I was in danger. Me in danger. The guy who loves danger.
When we talked before the fight, you discussed having sort of a chip on your shoulder heading in, because you felt that when Aleksa was doing his pre-fight stuff for the Contender Series, he looked in the camera, talked about the 205-pound division, and in a weird way, you thought he was speaking down towards you a bit. It seems to be like the New England MMA way to find those chips. Like, Calvin Kattar talks about finding chips wherever he can find them all the time. Is that something that you typically do, or is this something that you're going to do moving forward now that you had one with Aleksa? Because I don't remember, like, with the Cody fight, you really needing a chip. You just, ready to take that next step.
I was pissed off after hearing his interview saying that he was going to be too much for me, and he felt that he had everything that he needs. His wrestling's better than mine, the whole nine. And I sit here like, meanwhile, in my interviews, I'm showing you respect, and you're here sitting here trying to say otherwise. And I'm like, nah, bro. Like, in that warm-up room, if seeing that pre-fight stuff, I was getting pissed. I was like, yo, nah, I'm gonna murder this dude when I get out there. Like, yo, I try to stay away from social media so I don't have to hear this shit. But right before I walk out, I hear him talking like that, saying that he has the advantage, his striking, wherever it goes, he feels he has the upper hand. Everyone has the upper hand till you step in there with me. My strength is unheard of. Like, I have strength, power, speed. Like, I have it all when I'm ready to display it. There's one little thing I haven't unlocked yet is like the confidence in my striking. I know my striking can kill people, like, but I just need to get to that confident area where I'm like, all right, I could throw and destroy people. Because trust me when I tell you, my coach is telling me, yo, when you find that happy place so you can display more striking and stop being so nice and stop worrying about hurting people in the cage, you're going to be dangerous. He stresses it every fight. He stresses it. And I sit here and I'm like, yeah, but this is a kid. He's younger than me. He has a family to feed. I need him to live to fight another day. And then he tells me, he's like, they don't think that about you. They're in there to destroy you. But that little nice version of me is still in there. Like Hulk, when he goes into his mode, and then Scarlett Johansson is like telling him about the sun, wherever, calming him down. I have that calm in me. If that calm ever goes away, trust me, I'm going to be a very violent monster. I'm going to be destroying people. Like Rampage, man, that big old Rampage, like, rah!
How close are we to that point? Because, I mean, it doesn't seem like you need it right now. I mean, one moment that stood out in the fight that like everybody talked about was he got a takedown on you and then you put him in like a side headlock and then you completely turned him over, like old school professional wrestling in a way. It's like you see like at the beginning of a match when there's some chain wrestling, you just completely grunt overpowered him and flipped him on his back. And the fight never was the same again. That was just crazy. How close do you think you are from unleashing that actual ferocious nightmare upon these fighters?
If you've seen at the end of the first round, there's one thing when I threw the double kick, I threw a kick and then I jumped and kick and he blocked it, but he smiled. Then you see in the end of the round where I start going in with the combination, like it was a jab, hook, uppercut, hook. I started going in just for the end, and then I stood there and stared at him, and he was like, good round. It triggered then because I thought he was like mocking me when he smiled. And then my coach was like, no, he smiled because you heard him. I was like, oh.
That's what that's like.
Yeah, I was like, I thought he was smiling at me because I didn't hurt him. He was like, nah, a lot of guys will smile when they're hurt to act like it's a poker face, but they're hurt. I was like, oh, all right. He's like, just do what you did that end of that round and you'll be fine. I was like, all right.
So that must have made you feel good then, right?
Yeah, I got poked in the eye, and that's what changed it changed the whole momentum of the fight. For 2 rounds, I couldn't see out my left eye. But I wasn't going to tell nobody that because I wanted to keep fighting.
Did anything surprise you in the fight from Aleksa, or did this go the way you expected it to go from the jump?
So, surprisingly, his output, that surprised me. His output wasn't there like it was for past fights from what I heard. And it was like his output. I was expecting some spinning kicks, tricky shit, flying knees, just crazy shit from what my coach was telling me because I don't look up my opponents and overhands to takedowns, and none of that happened. I don't know what happened or what triggered in the fight, but I like dog fights. You can hit me with everything in the kitchen sink. I'm gonna keep coming forward.
This fight game, especially with what your last couple of months have been like, it comes with a lot of sacrifices. You're missing events. One of the things you talked about was like around right after the Contender Series fight, you're flying home, getting ready to hit some family gatherings and some cookouts. And then this fight comes along, you're missing birthdays, etc. Like, it must feel so good for you to be home and take somewhat of a load off after all this time, just going from one fight to a fight camp into another fight and traveling around the world.
Can't use that word fight camp when it comes to William Knight, man. I've been training the past 4 years consistently. No camp, no fight announced, no fight that I know of coming up. I'm still training. So what happened was actually I came back home now and I'm still on my diet and grinding because I actually hope I get this November 28th fight. If that happens, then we'll be straight. But if it doesn't, then whatever. I'll just be ready for whenever they call. There's also a December card, so.
So you're already back at the gym? No rose smelling whatsoever, just right back after it?
Nah, man, not back at the gym because, I got to wait for this COVID test to clear me.
That's right.
But I've been running and shit and chilling and shadow boxing and just letting everything settle in. But trust me, my mind is still training. Trust me.
You like to eat those foods after these fights, though? Are we staying away from all the fun stuff that is so dangerous to us all?
I mean, in the light of things, I mean, I try to do everything by the book. I try to follow through everything and make sure everybody's safe and sound, because at the end of the day, I can't be a selfish fighter and ruin everybody else's chances.
That's a good way to look at it. How did you enjoy the Fight Island experience? And then on top of that, just being part of this card with Adesanya, seeing a new champion in your division crowned in Jan Blachowicz. What was that whole experience like for you?
That experience was crazy, man. Like, I was in first class with Izzy and Dominic Reyes and Diego Sanchez and Hakeem, and I forgot that girl's name. She fought, but she lost by a decision.
Sajara Eubanks?
Yeah, Eubanks. I was in first class with them, and like two or three, maybe two of Izzy's teammates that fought on that card. So I'm sitting there with these high-end guys, and I'm sitting here like, wow, this is crazy. I'm like, Izzy's right there, Dominic's right there, like Diego Sanchez right there, Eubanks is right next to me. You got me and Hakeem next to me, and I got Izzy's teammate in front of me. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Everywhere I look is raw talent, like high-level guys, and I'm sitting here like, I'm making my UFC debut. I was sitting here quiet like a mouse, and then you got dudes like Izzy and stuff saying, yo, you might be the biggest and scariest dude on the card. Like, I ain't trying to wake you up. Like, they're joking around, having fun. Like, that jump was crazy.
Man, so that must have been really cool. Because, I mean, you're the new kid on the block. It's, it's a little overwhelming at times being around these guys. But once you started loosening up a little bit and they started talking to you, it must have been the best flight ever.
Man, I look at everybody as equal. So when I seen them, I dapped them up. The second I seen them, I pressed the guys. I'm like, gave Dominic Reyes dap. I gave these guys dap. What up? How you doing? What's good? Like, and then after my fight, they were like, yo, you did amazing at your fight, yo. Like, people be sleeping because you big, you got endurance. Like, don't got endurance. I got little dudes like fighting at 125, 135, 155 telling me I got more endurance than them. Like, that shit's rewarding. They're like, yo, you got more endurance than me, man. I thought you were going to gas after the first round, but you went in there and looked like you never even got into a fight. I'm like, yeah, other than my eye. Yeah, man.
So sometimes when you have these decision wins, especially in your case where you're the new guy on the block and people can only, see what they see before they actually watch you fight, it was almost in a weird way like beneficial for you to go the full 3 because now they could see that you got that cardio and you have that ability to go the full 15.
I was ready to keep going. I come from a championship status, so you got to realize I held a championship belt in 3 or 4 promotions at a time as a light heavyweight. So I always trained to go 5 rounds. Ever since I started, I asked my coach what the rounds were. I've never stopped training 5-minute rounds, even as an amateur. Hence why those 3 minutes were like he would say I would have like a slow start. It's because of how I pace myself through the rounds. And now I'm starting to understand that I can actually go out there, go crazy for 3-4 rounds, 5 rounds, and still not get tired. For some reason, in the process of you think I'm gassing out, a second wind hits in and my body goes numb. My freaking nerves go cold. My body gets this shiver. And then I'm like, nothing ever happened. I don't know why that happens to me, but it does.
So you mentioned November 28th. You want to be on the same card with your teammate Parker Porter, who's also going to be competing there.
Yeah.
Has the UFC expressed interest in this idea? They talked to you or Tyson about it? Do you feel like this is going to happen?
I hope it happens. Tyson's talking to them. We'll see what happens. If it doesn't happen, then I told him to shoot for December. But other than that, it's like, I got to sit down. Other than that, I'm sitting here like, man, I just want to get one more in before the year ends, at least one more.
So if we're looking at November 28th of December, is there anybody that sticks out to you? I mean, Camur was the guy you wanted heading into that Contender Series fight. You mentioned it. You didn't say his name, but you were like, the guy that fought Fabio, that's the guy I want to fight in my debut. And that's the fight you've got. What do you want next on the other side of the octagon? Do you have an idea with that?
Whoever they offer me, man, whatever fight makes sense to start climbing this ladder, like, don't matter to me, man. If we weight 205, let's get it done.
What about the rematch with Tafan and Chukwi, I think is the name.
Yeah, everybody wants that fight, but when you watch the fight, you see that it wasn't a stoppage like everyone thought. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I wasn't TKO'd, I wasn't hit, I wasn't defenseless or none of that. So you sit here and look at it like, you know what? These two will meet again. So let them both get into like top 15 and then have them fight where it really matters. Because either I fight them for the belt, I fight them for an intern belt just in case, because I know they do intern, or I'm going to fight them top 15 where that shit's going to matter the most. I fight him now, I guarantee you I'm going to fight him a third time. So it don't matter to me. I trained to fight. Like, I was in no danger that fight. More props to him. It got him to where he is today. I'm happy that somebody got somewhere, you know, fighting me, you know. So happy, congratulations to him, his skill. He got that head kick knockout in Contender Series, and hopefully he has his UFC debut also soon.
So the New England cartel continues to grow, and we see Tyson and Calvin and Rob Font and all the magazine covers and all the music videos. They're all over the place. Where are you? Like, when can we get you in these photo shoots? I feel like you're getting there.
The New England cartel is those guys, man. I'm a part of the Ambu Black Ops, man. You guys got to understand. Look at Naruto. Look up the Ambu Black Ops. The Ambu Black Ops are the guys that they send out for special missions. I'm the one you never heard about. I'm the one that moves in the shadows and gets the job done. And then when it's said and done, you're like, what the fuck happened? That's me.
That's a great way to look at it. Last thing before we let you go, I do want to ask you about this, if you don't mind, because there have been some comments made recently by Colby Covington with Tyron Woodley, with Kamaru Usman, and Colby's done some media talking about it. And he said one of the things that the MMA journalists have done wrong with this is they've asked fighters to give their takes on it, but no one's really approached American fighters about it. It's Israel and Leon Edwards and fighters of that nature. But Colby said, we're not asking American fighters about that. Maybe they feel differently. Have you heard Colby's comments? And if so, what do you make of all of this?
I mean, Colby, I don't know the guy. So I don't know what to think of him. Like, he could support Trump. I'm not against anybody who supports Trump or who doesn't support Trump. Like, at the end of the day, I'm me. He said some stuff that rubbed me the wrong ways when he started speaking on the man's religion. Like, he started speaking on his religion and stuff. Like, you don't speak on another man's religion. You don't speak on their beliefs and then sit here and try and be like, oh, I'm a good guy, I'm a good person. That's one line you don't cross. You don't speak on people's family or their religion. So I don't care what kind of sport you're in. You don't understand how religion holds people together. You don't understand how people's family function. That has a person functioning throughout time. So when you sit here, you can't be like, oh, his wife or his kids or his religion and shit. Like, that's the only thing that sticks out and bothers me. Like, saying woke athletes, that's another thing that was stupid. Like, it's not about being woke. It's about African Americans or minorities standing up to the justice system. The justice system isn't fair. We know this. This is for years. So they bring it to attention. You want them to shut up about it. But ask Colby this. If you can switch and be black for the rest of your life, would you do it? Would you be a black man for the rest of your life? I guarantee you his answer will be no. Ask him that question. You ever talk to him? Ask him if he would switch the life he lives now and switch and be a black man for the rest of his life. Ask him that question and tell me what the answer would be. That's to show you what kind of person he is. He's not true of nature and humble. Like, I'll talk to any and everybody. If you guys want to talk to me, cool, I'm going to talk to you. You know why? Because at the end of the day, somebody can relate to my story and I can change their life. You know how many times I thought about suicide and stuff because I was bullied or molested and things like that. Instead, I sat here and took a stand for myself and stood up for something. And now I have people that's been through what I've been through. They inbox me every day saying thank you, or I can't say no names, how they were ready to out themselves, and then my story inspired them to do better. He's the type of motherfucker that you don't want to talk to. Anyways, he sounds like an asshole. Then you got me right here ready to talk to any and everybody, because you don't know whose life you can change. The same life you change can spawn a kid now that can save your kid and become a doctor years from now. You don't know what you can do. Life is about full circle, man. And I'm about giving, man. I never had shit growing up. I had whatever my grandmother can afford and support me with. But at the end of the day, there's no greater cause than to give time. Time, man. Talk to somebody. You don't know what life you can change. People commit suicide every day. People are ready to take their lives away. You don't know one thing that you can say to that person that can save your life, man. Trust me.
Well, I got goosebumps right now. That's a perfect way to end this thing. William, congratulations, man. Incredible performance on Saturday. And hopefully you get on that November 28th card and share that moment with your teammate, man. All the best to you. And hopefully we hear some news soon.
Definitely, man. Thanks.